All right. Next, we're going to have a little conversation about different fitness modalities and why you might choose one modality over the other.
Yes.
So, you come from you come from an athletic background. You started your training as a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got into fitness training. You worked at or you still work at a Pilates studio.
Yes.
And now you're entering the world of CrossFit. You've been doing that for a while now, but you're starting to coach it as well.
Yes.
And training young athletes, doing athletic development. Our question is, why do people choose one modality of fitness over the other, and what is the best choice? Let's talk a little bit about what is Pilates traditionally, what is the version of Pilates that you teach, what does that whole spectrum look like, and what are most people looking for that come into that?
Yes. Well, this is a great topic because what the studio that I'm at is not traditional, and then the schooling that I went through was very traditional. So I got to see like both sides of it. Just a disclaimer, I think that Pilates in general, the Pilates world is adapting into something else, and the people that learned Joseph's Pilates are very offended by it, and it's just the way it is, and the new generation's coming in, and it's really hard for people to accept. But Matt Pilates was created by Joseph Pilates. He, in the 1920s, before that in World War I, he was doing it to help soldiers like recover from injury. And then once he realized like the soldiers that couldn't get out of the bed, that's where like the reformer kind of came in, resistance, whatever. But in the 1920s, he opened up a studio in New York, and he had a bunch of dancers come to him and be like, I am hurt, I'm broken, can you help me? He was so invested on not looking stronger, but more how to like use your body in the correct way, in the proper form and everything. Matt Pilates, it was first. There's 34 movements. That's it. And then it turned into reformer, but he was a strong believer. You could not go to the reformer until you mastered Matt Pilates. And it's all about your core, your breathing, your body awareness, and balance. But he based it off dancers. So some of the movements in those 34 movements is really hard for people like me. I wasn't a dancer, so I wasn't very flexible. And they were very vocal about how the add-ons to that people have created onto the 34 movements, it's taken its way into something else. So
Pilates has almost become a catch-all term for just fitness classes, right?
Yep, that's basically what it is. And so where I teach at Windsor Fitness Club, and we are a hot studio. So not only it's the traditional Pilates is no music and no heat, and it's very slow. Where I teach, it's lights, music, hot as heck, and there's up pace, there's slow, everything, but it's an environment that is fun for people. It was cool for me to go through the schooling of traditional and then working there, because I didn't know a lot about it. I knew how to move my body and everything, and being through an athlete and everything, I did have that background, but I tried to throw in the traditional in there. And I could totally tell people were like, what is happening? So I think that there's just studios that have a reputation of not being traditional. And then there are studios and there's private people that do private sessions that are very traditional. And I understand the two sides of it, because the traditional is your focus on your breathing, body awareness, core stability, balance. Like, that's what it is, and that's great, and I think everybody needs that, but I don't think that it's the only thing people should do, and that's where it's a big conversation that people don't like to have, because they really do believe that they can just do Pilates and have the most toned, skinny, pretty body ever. Yeah, I actually really like this topic, because I like to say it complements well with strength training.
Cool. I learned something there.
Yeah.
I always like to joke about Joseph Pilates. People are like, should I try Pilates? I'm like, yeah, if you're an amputee and you're stuck in bed recovering from war, that's a great fitness modality.
Yeah.
But I know that's not really, like, there's a lot of there's a lot of
Yeah.
intention there.
Yeah.
But that's great. I think that, one of the things that's happening in the fitness world is people have a little bit lost sight of about what it is they want to accomplish and how to accomplish it.
Yeah.
So often people think that one type of intensity or is going to produce the result they're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think there are some misunderstandings around that. So I always like to ask people, what do you really want to accomplish? Where do you want to go with this? What does this look like for you a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road? And then how do we get there efficiently?
Yeah.
So I can see a real place for Pilates, especially traditional Pilates, the core balance flexibility as a very complementary tool for a lot of other types of fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that definitely is like something I see. Like, I have a lot of members that just do that, and I'm starting to see them like plateau in there, because it's not that it's not working for them or anything. It's just like they've reached their potential, and there's only like so heavy you can go and so much you can do. There's just a whole nother potential and a whole nother door they could open, that it's like, I would love to just show you that there's so much more you could do. And sometimes I think a lot of it could be fear of like, okay, well, I got comfortable here and I know I can do this, but then stepping out of that comfort zone of trying something new, of doing that like heavy resistance strength training or the metabolic conditioning, whether it's they think they're at their age they can't do that, or they had an injury from the past that they can't come back to it and do that. It just is setting them back. And especially, I've talked to a lot of people about like the goals that they have, and I always try to tell them that you can't just do one. If you want to accomplish those goals, you have to be willing to like have a open perspective of trying all different types of modalities. So
yeah, and you're kind of defining what fitness is to the individual, right? So what do you want to be able to do physically? And some people don't care. They're like, hey, I want to have fun with fitness. Yeah. I want to be a healthy body weight. I want to be able to lift a little bit of weight. And for that person, it's like, cool, do the thing that you love to do. The best fitness program for that person is anything that they will do consistently. Because like, you like to do it, you'll keep going back and doing it. So that's great. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, they go to a fitness chain that does primarily cardio.
Right.
And they go there because they want to be skinny or they want to be lean. But for that person who's in maybe a cycle of chronic dieting and chronic, cardiovascular training, well, that's great for your heart and lungs. That's not the best training for your actual goal, which was you just wanted to be lean. It's like, hey, you could do zero cardio and be lean.
Yeah.
I don't advocate zero cardio. I think the heart and lungs are very important. We should train that system, the aerobic system, but we train it because that's a healthy system to train, not because that will produce weight loss.
Right.
And so I think that's an interesting way to kind of frame it for people, where they can really connect to, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to strength training, what do you think the scariest part of that is for people? What do you think the biggest barrier to entry is that keeps them from engaging in more strength training?
The conversations that I've had with people is like, well, I could never do like what you do on your social media. And I'm like, you don't have to. Like, you can start where you're able to start, and maybe one day, if you really, really like it, you like how it feels, how your body feels, you can get there. Anybody could get there, right? As long as you take care of yourself. But I think it's fear is like the number one thing for sure.
I think that brings up an important concept, which is progression.
Yeah.
So I think the best fitness modalities are going to show you a very clear progression. It doesn't matter where you start.
Yeah.
Are there really easily and well-coached steps from where you are right now to the next level and the next level? Yeah. Sometimes people look at what you do and they're like, that looks crazy, I can't do that.
Yeah.
What I usually say to those people is like, hey, if it looks crazy or if it feels crazy, that means it is crazy. And crazy just means it's a couple steps beyond where you are now. But the cool thing about progressive training is that if you start doing it now, just one foot in front of the other, every day feels like a tiny step forward, but suddenly in 3 months you're looking back and you're suddenly doing things that seemed crazy back then, and the stuff that seemed really crazy is just the next logical step in your progression.
Yeah.
So that's one of the really exciting things about progressive training, and strength training is probably the easiest progressive training to teach people.
Yeah, definitely. But it's funny because going into the different modalities and things, and like connecting this to like my athletes, and especially my younger athletes, that they're at the age where they're kind of like trying out all the sports. They haven't really established like their sport, and some of them have. But I try to encourage, like, telling the parents, you know, when they tell me, oh, you know, he's a baseball player, but he's like interested in basketball. I'm like, good, like, do it. Because if he's constantly just training from such a young age, he's like only a pitcher, he's gonna burn out that same movement all the time. But if he's working a different sport with a different modality, different muscle groups, whatever, that's gonna like help in so many ways of burnout and just like injury prevention over time. And then you brought up the thing about swinging. I had a girl come in, she played golf in high school, and swinging a golf club, like, if you're a righty, you're swinging the same way every time, and you're like, why don't you try swinging the different way, you know, like training it that way, because it's like your body never rotates that way either. And that made me think, like, wow, I didn't even think of that.
I mean, listen, it's not like your goal is to become an ambidextrous
No.
golfer.
Yeah.
But if you just warm up with rotation in the opposite direction, or your training at least accounts for that, so you're doing some rotational work that mimics the swing on the right side. On the left side, you can do that with bands or you know, even PVCs. There's some barbell work you can do with rotation. But if you do that, you're probably going to avoid some of these major imbalances that we're just going to wind in so deeply if we just do the same repetitive movement over and over and over again in the same direction.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot with this question. I've got an answer. Okay, I can give you mine afterwards.
Okay.
But if we're ranking or we're grading different types of fitness, different fitness philosophies, we could put like yoga, Pilates, Orange Theory, F45, powerlifting, CrossFit, I don't know what I'm missing out there, Barry's Boot Camp, right? Whatever's out there. If you're somebody who's like, what should I do? How would you rank or evaluate these different modalities?
That's a good question. Like, okay, so like those specifically?
Any of them, yeah. Just generically. You don't have to rank each one of those, but what would you tell somebody to consider if they're trying to pick one? Like, if they're like, what's the best? How do you pick?
You have an answer?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Okay.
You want to hear it? Okay.
Maybe.
Shoot.
Okay. I would say, not because I'm biased, I would say CrossFit, because you're gonna get kind of everything in there in that modality. Like, you're working your strength training, metabolic conditioning, you're working your recovery. You know, if you have coaches that care about you, you will work your brace, your core, your awareness of your breathing and everything. I don't know. That's how I think about it. So
I like your answer, obviously. But this is how I would tell somebody to think about it, okay? What is the transferability of the fitness you've gained? And what I mean by that is, if you do yoga consistently, 5 days a week, you're really invested, you get super flexy, right? You're at the front of the class looking good. And then your friend asks you to move a couch. Are you more prepared for that task?
No.
Not really.
No.
What if your friend wants to go for a 10K run? Can you just pop up and do that?
No.
Right.
Wow.
So, yoga, if you love it, do it.
Yeah.
You know, because you like doing it, right? But for that time, could you be getting more? And so you can kind of run through this. Like, you know, what about cycling? Now, I was a cyclist for a long time. I love this sport. I'm watching the Tour de France right now. So I'm going to say something bad about it, okay? Cycling makes you worse at everything but cycling. Like, literally, you can bike a ton. I did. And it makes you no better at running. You get off the bike and then you start to, because it's all concentric, just smooth pedaling forces. And you get on and you try to do something that's really pounding, like running. And you're like, man, I've got all this cardiovascular capacity, Why can't I run better?
Right.
Well, it's because cycling just prepares you for this closed hip, rounded back, terrible postural, aerobic training. Now, riding a bicycle is super fun. I like doing it. So, if you like riding a bike, do it. It's great cardiovascular exercise. But you better have something to unwind the tightness you're creating in your hips, the rounded back position, all the postural deformities that you're creating by staying in that position. You better be unwinding that and probably doing some strength work. And you can kind of run through the list, how much better are you? One of the things that I think about with my own fitness and the way that I train, if you're like, hey, let's go run a 10K tomorrow, I'm like, cool, I'm in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to run fast like when I used to race triathlon,
Right.
relatively fast at least,
Yeah.
right? But I can still do it. If you're like, hey, you want to go do an Olympic lifting competition or powerlifting competition? I'm like, yeah, we're going to get smoked by the people that just train that all the time.
Yeah.
But we can go it's a decent amount of weight that we're lifting. We can do it with really good technique. We can look like we belong there. We're just a little bit weaker than those guys.
Yeah.
But guess what? They're not joining us for a 10K run tomorrow.
No way.
Okay. And on top of that, you can go through the list, right? Yeah. What about flexibility? I can show up in a yoga class and represent myself pretty well.
Yeah.
I can move like somebody who trains yoga regularly.
Yeah,
and so I kind of run through that list. I'm like, okay, cool. You have strength, you have flexibility, you have stability, endurance, you have stamina, balance, coordination. All of these things are what we think of as characteristics or skills that are involved in what we think of as broad inclusive fitness.
Yes.
And so that's how I would answer that for somebody. If you're looking for real fitness, ask yourself, what am I getting for this? So that's my definition.
Yeah.
Or that's how I would ask somebody to think about it anyhow.
Okay. That was
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to go anyhow, though. You're going to be late.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call it there. We'll come back. We'll think of something else. We'll think about another trending topic in health or fitness, and we'll dive into that next time.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Hey, if anybody made it to the end of the podcast, hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again sometime.